in that as well, with Rino Mastronarde welcome to the team, taking over from Gianluca Roda. Gianluca's son, though, Giorgio, is still the silver element in the number 51 car.
So all 6 cars now out on track, with Andrea Bertolini joining in the fun. The 51 then in the hands of Bertolini. Matt Griffin aboard the 55 Spirit of Race car. Will Stevens in the 66 JMW. They're the 3 Ferraris. Then we get to the Porsche. That's in the hands of the 3-man Matteo Caroli. Nicky Thiem and Ross Gunn are the guns, indeed, aboard the Aston Martins. And it has been Ross Gunn that's been taking on qualifying, Johnny, in races more recently from Darren Turner. And it's very much part of the development curve for young Ross.
It is, because Darren, you know, what more can that man learn, really, behind the wheel of a car? I'm surely his career is tailing off, if anything. So handed over to the 20-year-old Ross Gunn, who is Darren's protégé, if you like. He's been at his side for the past couple of seasons, helping him through. Former British GT4 champion Ross Gunn with Jamie Chadwick. And yeah, Ross is could be a real talent for the future. One of those sneaky silvers that may not be silver in maybe 2 or 3 years' time. But he is in that number 99 car, along with Andrew Howard, the team owner at Beechdean, and DT. I love you really, Darren.
Everybody loves Darren Turner.
Indeed. There's the 55, double winner then so far this year, with a couple of pole positions to its name as well. And flattering the curb a little bit is the 55 Ferrari. Andrea Bertolini now on an outlap. Matt Griffin likewise in that green car, and Will Stevens in the 66 machine. Now, Will did Le Mans.
He did, and won, of course, with Rob Smith and Dries Fronteur, and a fantastic win in the debut for the 488. Nicky Thiem we just saw heading down towards Pouhon. Picture perfect day today, and perfect line from Nicky until he actually came out of the corner. He suddenly realised he was actually slightly off the track on the right-hand side, but Nicky Thiem just keeps the line there, drifts the car out wide. 7.5 minutes remain in the session. It is pretty quick fine. You've got to get those laps in and get them done quickly. Ross Gunn at the moment with the fastest first sector. Nicky Thiem with the fastest second sector. Matt Griffin with the fastest third sector. So spreading the favours widely just at the moment. Yet to see a quick lap time through.
Yeah, but excuse me, that's just around the corner for Bertolini, for Griffin, for Stevens in their Ferraris, Matteo Cairoli in his Porsche, and the 2 Aston Martins, the big Vantages with their front engines. They're heading over the line, or at least the 90 car is now. TF Sport
goes through in a 2:17.120. First time to be posted, but it'll be rapidly followed by a couple more, because Matteo Cairoli was just behind him, and indeed Cairoli in the Porsche, the 77 car, goes to the top, Johnny, in a 2:16.757.
Okay, so very early stages. The Porsche number 77 hasn't yet finished on pole position, and therefore with the prime opportunity for the Sunday race. And actually Proton Competition trail TF Sport by 31 points, so there's an opportunity to try and gather some of those points back again. Arguably you might say it's now a 3-horse race in GTE, with 13 points covering TF Sport, JMW and Spirit of Race. But if Beechdean or Proton can score well this weekend, it may be a different story for the final round of the year in a month's time at Portimao in Portugal. Here comes Will Stevens in the yellow, black and red J&W Motorsport Ferrari. Over the line it goes now, and Will's time is a 2:18.177, puts him behind Ross Gunn, behind Nicky Thiem, and behind the rapid Italian Matteo Cairoli.
We're waiting for Andrea Bertolini and Matt Griffin to come through their first efforts, but already well into their second. Matteo Cairoli and Nicky Thiem both going quicker this time around. Here comes Matt Griffin.
Over the line he goes, just a short pause, and Griffin goes third fastest, behind Thiem and behind Cairoli. So it's Porsche, Aston, Ferrari, Aston and another Ferrari of Will Stevens. He is just biding his time, I think, Will, getting used to the car once again, as Bertolini slots into third position now in the number 51 Spirit of Race Ferrari. So Spirit of Race, third and fourth fastest.
11 1,000ths of a second quicker than Matt Griffin's effort. That will stir on the Irishman to greater efforts this time around. So well into the second flying laps for the leading 3 cars on track, two of which top the times. Matteo Caroli in the 77 Porsche here into the last sector of this lap, but ahead of him on the road, although not at the moment on tumbling and scoring, is Nicky Thiem. Thiem comes through to complete his lap, and he does improve. He closes the gap by just 5 thousandths of a second, though. Here comes Caroli. Is he going to extend the gap?
4.5 minutes to go. What's Caroli's time?
He doesn't improve. No improvements. A 0.358 is the gap. Caroli, the only man into the 216s, that 216.757 from his first flyer. He was quicker in sector 1, but then didn't improve beyond that in the lap. So Nicky Thiem has very marginally closed the gap. Ross Gunn, no improvement that time. I think May. Ross Gunn's time.
Well, we in the earlier session did have times deleted because of track limits, and that's what's happened.
It is deleted.
Out of turn 1, sometimes people were breaching the track limits out of La Source corner. Obviously, there's a lot of runoff area there to driver's left, and it's almost begging to be used, but you have to keep at least 2 wheels, the right side of the white line. Also coming out of Campus corner there. It's there's potential for just running the car out a bit too wide, although Bertolini just about on his marks in the 51 car, heading now towards Blanchimont corner, a corner that requires full bravery. And no question at all that Andrea is well used to heading through there. Flat chat down towards the bus stop chicane comes the Ferrari, then number 51, currently 5th fastest. And there is a bit of a gap between the rest of the cars and where Bertolini is on the road. Stevens has been through and actually improves. I think he went from 5th to 3rd there.
I think it was 6th to 3rd.
Wow.
He came from the bottom of the tumbling scoring to leapfrog Ross Gunn and the other Ferraris. So Will Stevens in the 66 car goes through 3rd position, 2nd row in GTE at the moment for Will Stevens. So a good lap there and under a second back from Matteo Caroli.
And Bertolini didn't improve. He did a 2:18, which is not a great effort from the Italian. There's plenty more left in the tank, though. However, 2.5 minutes might pose a problem. They're doing 2:16, 2:17, so Bertolini will get this lap and 1 more. Where is Matt Griffin on the track? Just heading out of Lecombe corner. This is the plunge down the hill towards Bruxelles. Riding on board with the 55 Ferrari, and he's deliberately gone out wide there to cut back again. Well, I say deliberately, the car looked to be a real handful at Bruxelles corner, almost treating it like 2 corners. Runs out a little bit wide as well out of turn 11. Needs to be careful of that. We've only so far had 1 time deleted. That was for 99, as Caroli and Nicky Thiem both decide to pit. So maybe they've decided that their Dunlop tyres aren't going to produce any quicker times.
Yep, done with 2 minutes to go, and still some fast lappery to come, I'm sure. Will Stevens is still pushing hard. It's an improved first sector for Will. He's got 9/10 of a second to find to get onto terms for pole position. That doesn't at the moment look to be on this lap. Didn't improve, but came pretty close to his fastest time in the middle sector. Just about to complete effectively his 3rd flying lap. Comes the car now. Down the start-finish straight. The timing line is the first of these. Will Stevens does not improve. It's a 2:19.1 for Will Stevens. But Griffin also about to complete the lap. 2:17.787 was the last lap through for the Irishman. Here he comes. Now, is this the effort, or is he gathering himself for a final push? No improvement either for Griffin. Bertolini too looks to be somewhat off his ultimate pace. There is the 77 car, sitting very pretty indeed as a 2015 spec Porsche 911 RSR usually does. The oldest car left in this field this year, and Proton Competition telling us recently that we're likely to see at least 1 and probably 2 current spec factory Porsche 911 RSR, the mid-engine version of the car, back in the ELMS next year. So an increased effort by the look of things from Proton on the way. Comes Will Stevens though, struggling to find the ultimate pace of the leading 2 cars out the Ferraris in the first sector here.
Yeah, and they've obviously sent Will out as the quickest driver in the combination. The other drivers being Jodie Fannin, 24 years old, another Brit, and Rob Smith, who is the bronze driver. And
struggling to understand why two lights are being shown on the side of that Ferrari.
Yeah, maybe
very clearly is third.
Yeah. Maybe a glitch. Normally, the positional lights that, well, they're not utilised in the ELMS, are they? I don't know whether they actually work, generally speaking. But there are two illuminated, you're quite right. However, the second fastest car in this session is Nicky Team's Aston Martin, the number 90 car. So that is a tad confusing. It may be an electrical glitch that's been carried over from the car that ran at Le Mans as well. And that's where the positional lights are used. Anyway, into the chicane goes for the final time. It's not going to be a preemptive position either, because he's bailing out, isn't he, Graham?
He is. He's clearly outside the delta time. The drivers will see where they stand against their best sector times and best lap times throughout this lap, and he'll have taken the opportunity, those wide open spaces after Blanchimont, to see whether or not there was anything to be gained by completing that lap, and pretty clearly the answer is no. He's bailed out on that lap. At the moment, Will Stevens then sitting in third position. Matt Griffin very close to that time, but does not at the moment appear pretty close to actually bettering it. Again, Matt will know this is Andrea Bertolini aboard the 51 car, sitting in well, a highly unlikely fifth place in the order. But the quality of the pro drivers in this six-car field in GTE in the European Le Mans Series is very high indeed.
And that car's going to pit as well along this precarious pit lane in route. What you can't see the other side of the concrete wall is there's a sharp drop down to the lower paddock there. So the car just goes on the very, very edge of that face. The 51 doesn't carry any leader lights at all, so I think that's just a hangover from another championship that the 66 runs in.
So we're done with that session. Everybody either completing their final lap or bailing out into pit lane. By the way, if the question ever came up in a pub quiz, which driver has driven most Ferrari Formula 1 cars, the answer is Andrea Bertolini, because he shakes down all the customer sales cars for Corsa Cliente, and that runs into the hundreds. And they trust him with it because he's a trustworthy sort of bloke.
He certainly is.
Lovely.
He's very, very nice.
He's a lovely fella.
And very rapid as well. I mean, was racing Maseratis, works Maseratis 10, 12 years ago. All part of the same group, of course, but it's been Ferrari 458s, 488s more recently, and the odd Formula 1 car, as Graham quite rightly points out as well. The TF Sport Aston Martin straight to the weighbridge to make sure that everything is within the regulations at the end of the session. But that is the first pole position of the year for not only the 77 Proton Competition Porsche, but a Porsche full stop. We've had Astons, we've had Ferraris starting from the front of the GTE field, but the first time for that German manufacturer. And Proton Competition, having taken victory last year, I remember at, where did we race last year in Italy? Imola. I think that was their last victory in the ELMS though. And the highest position for Proton Competition this year, a second place at Silverstone. So that's given their weekend a brilliant start. Matteo Cairoli doing the time, the 21-year-old Italian, sharing with Joel Comathius and Christian Reed, the team owner. There is confirmation then of the 2:16.757 that Cairoli was able to post, and that's 0.358 of a second faster than Nicky Team's effort in the TF Sport Aston Martin V8 Vantage. Third fastest was Will Stevens in the JMW Motorsport Ferrari. The two Spirit of Race Ferrari 488s, fourth and fifth, and the Beech Dean AMR driven by Ross Gunn, finishing sixth fastest.
Good news there, of course, for championship leaders TF Sport is it was not one of their closest rivals that took that 1 point, Johnny.
Yes, that's a very good point too. So TF Sport will go on to 78 points now and lead by 10 from JMW. Let's get some reaction from Matteo Cairoli, joining now Charlie George in the pit lane.
Yeah, I'm just down in the pit lane. It's all getting a bit noisy, but Matteo, congratulations, the first Porsche pole position of the season.
Yeah, I mean, we are glad to be on pole here in Spa for the 4 hours race. The car was amazing to drive, and I really enjoyed every single second. Yeah, the team, as usual, did a perfect job, so we are pretty happy with the setup. And yeah, tomorrow it's the big day, and we will try to bring it home.
So, what do you think your chances in the race?
Yeah, I mean, the priority is not do any mistake. And yeah, of course we have a competitive car, so we should be on the right way. And yeah, we hope the best for tomorrow.
Thank you, well done.
Thank you very much.
Well, if you want to know who the next Porsche factory driver is likely to be, I think you're looking right there, Johnny. He is really making a name for himself in GT racing. Porsche Junior driver, and he's got the whole package, hasn't he? Damn him. The talent, the good looks. It's a joy to watch him emerging in what is a very competitive field. In, as we were saying earlier, the oldest car in the field, albeit the little bit of balance of performance that comes into it. On to LMP3 though, and this is another class where we've actually not had a double pole position winner this year so far in the first 4 rounds of the European Le Mans Series. United Autosports have actually taken a pole position. So has the AT Racing car on the opening round at Silverstone this year. Last time out at Paul Ricard, it was the 360 Racing car that actually came through. And we had, I think, is it, who's the other one at Red Bull Ring? Antonin Borger, David Drew and Nicolas Schatz took the pole position there. So it really has been a bit of a mixed bag. In the point standings, though, it's been a car that hasn't set pole position but has taken 2 race wins that is top of the shop. That's the other United Autosports car in the hands of John Falb and Sean Rahal, the Anglo-American team with the All-American driver lineup.
So 17 LMP3 cars here this weekend, and a real spread, as you say, of wins through the year, of pole positions too. So it's very, very tricky class to try and predict this, with 1 or 2 adjustments to driver lineups. And there's the 19 car, which welcomes to its lineup Neil Muston to partner with Jan Erlacher, or Jan Erlacher, I should say, the 52-year-old Aussie, though, at the wheel. Probably not at the wheel, because Jan will qualify, I would think, being the silver element in that duo.
Yep, new addition to the M Racing YMR squad in there, Norma, and has been in a bit of trouble, I'm afraid, earlier today, and a trip to the stewards for some issues out on track in FP2. Quick look there at this is the RLRM Sport car. Alex Capardia, Morton Dons and John Ferrano, and it will be, I think, is it the yellow helmet? No, nobody. Yes, it is the yellow helmet of Alex Capardia, who has been another one of the coming men this year, shown some sparkling form in recent outings in both the LMS and that car, and the identical car the team campaign in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Here's the number 9 car. This is the AT Racing World of Tanks liveried car, set pole position at the first race this season, but since then has rather struggled to match that form. Has not come close to a podium position. Has had 2 DNFs with some issues out on track. Yeah,
and the problem with a 6-race calendar is that 2 DNFs really do start to bite your position in the championship. They are 8th at the moment, but well off the pace with only, how many points do they have to their name? 21.
21 they
so
do.
49 points behind.
10th in the team championships as well, because of course some of the drivers ahead of them are some of those guys that have dipped in and out of the championship. There's one of the Duquesne Engineering cars. It's a team that has transitioned through the season from starting the season with a pair of Ligier to now campaigning a pair of Normas, and these cars have been remarkably rapid but have suffered some problems. So we've seen the cars in very, very good positions in the European Le Mans Series, but not with the finishes that perhaps that form indicated they should be getting. There's the number 3 United Autosports car. This is the team, of course, defending the championship from last year. Another of the Normas there, the Team Oregon car, another team that's been somewhat out of luck for much of the season. The livery will be familiar to those that are watching the Renault Sport Trophy last year, of course. This is one of the fleet of cars campaigned by M Racing YMR, the 18 car. Another team that's doing very well in the championship as well, stepping up from form last year to much better form this. And one of the pair of Euro International cars. Sunshine on that very deep blue paint. It can look green almost. Should have gone to Specsavers there.
You can pick up those shades, by the way, as a bit of a souvenir for the championship at various places around the track. Can't see a thing out of them, but they do look great when you're wearing them. There's the number 2 car, championship leaders for United Autosports, John Falb and Sean Rahal. They have 2 victories to their name and a second-place finish at Red Bull Ring as well. Just a couple of points picked up, though, at Monza as the green flag is now waved at the end of the pit lane. This 12-minute session then begins, and probably all 17 cars, they've had the time to start the queue at the end of the pit lane. They're all going to be released at the same time. Remember, not all Ligier chassis. We now have 4 represented from the Norma manufacturer, the Norma M30, with exactly the same 5-litre V8 engine that powers the Ligiers. But Duquesne Engineering switching both of their cars now to Normas, along with the Oregon team, number 10 rather, and the number 19 car, which is the Yann Lachey driven Norma M30 as well.
In terms of the drivers we're seeing aboard the cars, Wayne Boyd is out there in the number 3 United Autosports car. Sean Rahal, the championship leading number 2. It's Raj Alexander in the 4. Jürgen Krebs in the 5. Ross Kaiser in the 6. Pole position setter last time out, David Drew in the 7. Vincent Beltoise in the 8. It is Dario Capitano in the number 10 Oregon car we saw on pit lane. Ricky Capo in the 12. It is Kuba Shimoski in the number 13. Alex Capadio, as we said, in the 15. Mathieu Lehey in the 17. Alexander Cagno in the 18. Yann Lachey in the number 19. And we're waiting for the last couple of cars to just pop out of pit lane. It's Giorgio Mondini in the 11 Euro International car. And we're waiting to who's going to leave the pit lane in the number 9. Matt Bell there in the United Autosports garage after just taking part in the effort for the team in the Michelin Le Mans Cup and coming off the back of a win in the British Championship last weekend at Donington Park.
So here's the 360 Racing entered machine, car number 6, and it's Ross Kaiser at the wheel. He's had an eventful season when it comes to qualifying sessions, with a wheel coming off at Red Bull Ring.
Twice, I think, that meeting, wasn't it?
One in quali and one in the race.
It was. He didn't have the best of times, did he?
No.
But coming round to start their outlap, or finish their outlap rather, and starting the quick lappery we're going to see from these guys and positioning themselves and at the head of a group of 3 that he started the lap behind. Alex Capadia just ahead. There you go. There, the white car with the yellow stripe down the middle and the black edging. Good looking livery on the RLR cars this year. 9.5 minutes of rapid track action begins now.
There's the 7 car just heading through La Source, driven by David Drew, but should say happy birthday to Antonin Borger, who was 30 years old on Thursday, who's the Swiss driver, also part of that lineup. Drew, also from Switzerland, and Nicolas Schatz, the Frenchman, who has done a lot of hill climbing in the past in France.
In cars, we should say.
Yes, not just rambling.
Absolutely. That's our job.
Yeah, yes. He's probably got a good pair of walking boots, I would imagine, Nicolas Schatz, if he has to recce some of his routes. But that's where a lot of his success has come in the past. But turning his attentions to endurance racing for this year at Duquesne Engineering. Duquesne with a couple of cars, the 7 and the 8. There's the number 2 car, John Falb and Sean Rahal, and it is Rahal doing the qualifying. But no quick times coming through just yet. Who is first on the road, potentially going to set one? The 19 car just over the line, but that's an outlap as well. It may well be car number 9 that was released rather swiftly.
It is. Let's have a quick look at clear sector 2 from the starters here.
Just looking at the cars circulating around the map, though. It might be car 15, actually.
Yes, I think you might be right. It's either 6 or 15.
It's either 9 or 15. And they are still only at pit path now, turn 11, turn 12, so they've got to do the whole of the final sector before we see quick times coming through.
It's Ross Kaiser. It's the 6 car.
Okay.
It's 6 ahead of Alex Capadia. So it's Kaiser and Capadia, I think, are going to be the first 2, because the number 9 car is only on its outlap. And that is going to get in the way, I think.
Well, that's the danger, isn't it? Mikkel Jensen will have to have the eyes in the mirrors to allow Kaiser through. I think he's already been allowed through, actually.
Yep.
And no, there is the 9 car. So that's Jensen on the outlap for AT Racing, and behind will be Kaiser to potentially set a quick time. There is Kaiser in the background. So over the line then comes the 6 car to immediately go quickest. No surprise there. 2:15.928 is the effort from the 360 Racing car.
Now the 9 car did not get his way. We know that because it was the fastest 3rd sector thus far. Ross Kaiser retains that. David Drew is through, so is Alex Capadia. They're both into the 216s. 4/10 and nearly 8/10 down for Drew and Kapadia in that order. So Kaiser from Drew, from Kapadia, then Matteo Coloni's time stands currently as the 4th quickest, ahead of the Norma of Dario Capitano, 10 car. So top 3 cars at the moment, LMP3 cars, with others still to either post a better time or to post any quick time at all.
In free practice,
Wayne Boyd goes, apologies,
that's right,
goes through 3/4 of a second up, so it's a 2:15.192 for Wayne Boyd after a couple of traumatic races for United Autosports. 2:15.192, and the 2:15.1 bracket also hit by Sean Rahal, goes to the top of Tabbingen scoring, Johnny.
in free practice 2 held this morning, the 3 car, and I would imagine Wayne Boyd's time was streets ahead of everybody else, 2:15.7, or well below that now with a 2:15.101, but I think other LMP3 teams maybe had other priorities for pre-practice 2 this morning. Slight off for Wayne Boyd. Did he keep the wheels on the track?
He did. No, he's still on the white line. That's allowed.
On the line is fine, over the line not so much, but there's curbing there as well, which may at times be counted as the track as well.
Wayne Boyd this time around is much quicker in sector 1, half a second up on his teammate Sean Rahal, but quickest of all is the car that's down in 6th position, the number 7. That's the Duquesne car, the Norma of David Drew. This is going to be fast and furious stuff. We're going to be looking at rapidly changing timing screens for the next 5.5 minutes, Johnny.
John Fowl, big smile on his face. Sean Rahal looking like he's got the speed at the moment, to 2:15.101 for United Autosports. It's a 1-2 with plenty of this session still to go as Mikkel Jensen goes fastest. Now remember, he was the last car to be released from the pit lane. He's done a 2:14.779. That's 0.3 of a second quicker than Rahal and Kaiser's times, as David Drew goes through in the Duquesne Engineering car, number 7, to go second fastest. So blink of an eye and you've got 2 other cars faster now than Rahal, and they're the 2 guys towards the back of the line of cars, long line of cars around Spa Francorchamps.
That came just after Ross Kaiser came through for his second flying lap, which was just 0.005 of a second off what had been the previous pole position, provisional pole setter, Sean Rahal, of 2:15.106. Wayne Boyd, though, smashes it out of the park this time, a 2:14.345, 4/10 up even on Mikkel Jensen.
The 16 car from Panes Bartis Competition there, really porpoising as it headed through La Source and through Eau Rouge corner as well. The car bouncing around, and how much pressure there is on particularly the rear left as the cars go through Eau Rouge and up over Radillon. Mikkel Jensen running wide out of turn 9 there. That really was all 4 wheels off the track, so I wouldn't be surprised if the AT Racing car is running a little bit too close to the line there. No indication just yet of times being deleted. We did have times, well, certainly lines being watched in GTs, but no deletions as yet in P3.
Now there is a little bit. Car 9, by the way, will have its current lap deleted.
There we go. That was the one I saw.
Jensen,
out of turn 9, yeah. There you go. Call me a race steward.
Absolutely.
I'm not.
No, but it would seem to me that I think some of these cars are running with they are allowed a little bit of adjustability in terms of setup, and I think that's in play here, because we're seeing pretty wild differences in sector 1 times here, something like 0.7 of a second on, from not just between the Normas and the Ligiers, but between them. So I think there's a bit of a difference here in terms of the balance that's been struck between the straight line speed and the downforce available. Mikkel Jensen, meanwhile, is on that lap, would have, I think, gone a lot quicker, but it's not going to count.
No. It's registered and now it's deleted almost immediately.
He would have been 3/10 up. It was a 1:14.0 and it would have been 3/10 up.
Yeah. 0.4 of a second. He trails Wayne Boyd's time in reality, but a 2:14, well, is he 2:14 flat then it would have been?
Well, to give you an idea, in the middle sector, he would have been 1.3 seconds up on the time on the lap that Wayne Boyd is currently on. That was a huge lap from Mikkel Jensen, but a little too huge, I'm afraid, for the tastes of the race director.
Yeah, well, you could argue some of that 3/10 was gained out of turn 9, I suppose, by running wide. So
third man on the 2:15, meanwhile, is Ross Kaiser, but I think he's going to lose that lap.
Yes, he is.
Is it that lap?
Lap 4.
No, it's the lap he's currently on, so his 2:14.8 will count The current lap, I'm afraid, will go in the waste paper basket. Sean Rahal is in the process of improving on his time. He's currently 5th. Rahal goes second, so it's Boyd and Rahal. It's back to United Autosports 1-2, but in the opposite order than we had earlier, 2:14, 4:87. So 3 from 2, then the 9, AT Racing, Mikkel Jensen. David Drew in the number 7 is the fastest of the Normers at the moment. He's 4th. Then Ross Kaiser, Mathieu Lehay in the number 6 for 360 Racing in the 17 Ultimate car. They are the top 6 right now.
Already had a pole position this year for the number 3 car. The number 2 hasn't yet had a pole.
Though leads the championship.
So could we get a 5th different pole sitter in a championship that would only be 5 or 4 races old, 5 qualifying sessions old? It's a great span of different teams that are competitive in this really close category. There's car 11. That machine's won a race this year. It was at Red Bull Ring. Giorgio Mondini has been the ever-present in car 11. There's been a bit of chopping and changing as far as co-drivers concerned. Marco Giacoboni again is the bronze element to join Giorgio, who's a silver.
Watching Mikkel Jensen on this lap, it's another very quick one. He needs to make up 8/10ths. He does it. He's into the 2:13s. 2:13.634. That's an absolutely fantastic lap from the number 9 car. Is it going to be the AT Racing squad that set the second pole position of the season, or the only team to have set 2 pole positions this season, or is Wayne Boyd going to have something left in the tank? We've got 23 seconds to go. Can Boyd get through and start a final lap here, or does he think that's beyond the capabilities of his number 3 United Autosports car? They'd like, I'm sure, to have a full front row. That may not be possible. I'm sure it isn't, in fact, because time is going to be against Sean Rahal. 3 seconds to go, 2, 1. And Wayne Boyd has not made it to complete his current lap. In fact, he's pitted. So can anybody get anywhere close to that lap from Mikkel Jensen? I don't think they can.
Boyd now receives the checkered flag in the pit lane. Sean Rahal is somewhere in the 3rd sector, but will get the checkered flag this time around. David Drew's managed to sneak through onto an extra lap, though, and he's quicker than anybody else through the 1st sector. He's done a 38.7 through sector 1. That's all the way to the end of the Kemmel Straight.
That is another great time. Let's have a look, though, and keep an eye on what David Drew, another man, of course, who has set a pole position so far this year.
Yep.
So let's wait and see what's possible there. That's a very quick time through the 1st sector. Just looking at who else has actually set one in the 38s, and the answer is only one other man, and that's Wayne Boyd.
Mathieu Lehay says that's enough and decides to pit, well, at least gets the checkered flag. So we're obviously at the end of the session now, with cars constantly pouring across the line. I think there's a little bit of an error there for the number 4 car, and that's almost a half spin, which means that the number 4 car ends the session in the pit lane. It's Iraj Alexander who is driving the Cool Racing car.
So who else is on a quick lap at the moment? Giorgio Mondini has just completed his final lap. He improves a couple of positions, but will be unhappy, I'm sure, with 10th. David Drew's middle sector not as impressive as his first.
Well,
Ross Kaiser, though, is going quickly.
Drew's been quicker through sector 2 in this session, but he's coming through towards Blanchimont now. So is he carrying enough speed from that opening session? Well, he's going to be beaten 1 position, because Ross Kaiser's gone through and found improvement. A 2:14.692 puts him 4th fastest, but can David Drew repay the favour? No, he can't. He decides to bail into the pit lane. So Kaiser snatches a 2nd row start very late in the day.
I suspect that David Drew came across the Euro Interpol car at some point on that lap, because it was a pretty poor middle sector, 62.4 seconds, when the 59.3 was the effort put in by Mikkel Jensen. I suspect that may have spoiled his run. Debar makes an improvement in his time, but stays in 6th position. So Mikkel Jensen it is in the AT Racing. That is Alexander Talkanitsa Senior there, one of the co-drivers in that car.
And Alexander Cugno late on coming across the line, but not finding improvement. He was the last car to complete the session in the number 18 M Racing YMR car. It'll be an 11th place start for Alexandre.
So that is your pole position car as Mikkel Jensen makes his way back to pit lane. Car will, of course, be scrutineered post this qualifying session. We're going to get to see, I'm sure, the order And qualifying, there it is, AT Racing with a 2:13.634, 7/10 of a second ahead of the first of the United Autosports cars, Wayne Boyd's effort. Sean Rahal just over a tenth back on his colleague. Fourth in the order, 360 Racing in the hands of Ross Kaiser. Then Duquesne Engineering, Panis Barthez, Ultimates, Oregon, RLRM Sport completing the remainder of the order. All bar the bottom two cars in the order, by the way, ahead of the 6 GTE starters.
Yes, so Idris Alexander and Jürgen Krebs will have to start their cars behind 6 GTEs, but an enthralling session once again, so tricky to try and predict, and it's a second pole of the year for AT Racing. It may well have been Mikkel Jensen who got that at Silverstone as well, sharing with Alexander Talkanitzer Jr. and Senior for the whole season, I seem to remember. And Mikkel Jensen, a regular within AT Racing, effectively run by AF Corsa, but AT being the family name, Alexander Talkanitzer. That car's just working its way now back towards the end of the lap, towards the pit lane as well, so that Mikkel Jensen can be congratulated, probably, by Alexander Talkanitzer Jr., who's now in the pit lane with Charlie George.
Yeah, I'm down here at AT Racing. Second pole of the season for you guys, so that must be a great feeling after what's been a fairly unlucky season so far.
Yeah, so it was impressive lap by Mika. I think especially the second, especially the second sector was really impressive. And yeah, as you said, like our season goes like up, down. So we had a good first race, then we had a problem in Monza, then a good race in Red Bull Ring, then I got a problem last week, so it's good to be back. We have a very quick car and now we just have to perform during the race.
Good luck, thank you.
Thank you.
So it'll be fascinating to revisit the data from the Alcamel timing and scoring system to work out just how many potential cars we had on pole position through that 12-minute session. It will have been many different potential pole times between about 4 or 5 different cars. David Drew will start 5th for Duquesne Engineering behind Ross Kaiser and 360 Racing. Sean Rahal and Wayne Boyd for United Autosports in the 2 and the 3 respectively. They'll start 3rd and 2nd. Then it's AT Racing's World of Tanks backed car, the black and orange livery for Alexander Talkanitzer Jr. and Senior and Mikkel Jensen. Looking at the 27 Dallara P217 from SMP Racing. This car joining the championship quite late on. It was Red Bull Ring the first time we saw this machine, although it did race at Le Mans as well, with 2 very young drivers, Matevos Isakian and Yegor Rudchev, 19 and 21 years old respectively, basically coming from the Formula V8 3.5 series, another single-seater racing they've done in the past, and Red Bull Ring was their first venture into endurance racing and prototypes. They took to it like ducks to water and, in fact, ran very close to a victory at Red Bull Ring. They did win at Paul Ricard. They're a bit too far back in the championship, I would say, to be in the equation for that. But if they win, they can certainly take points of other people, Graham.
And the other thing they'll be doing, Johnny, is making a bid for a place in what's coming next for SMP Racing, because on Monday, we understand, the first shakedown of the Dallara AER, that will be the LMP1 weapon of the FIWC for SMP Racing, will be making its first shakedown run. And those 2 young men, I think, are making something of a bid for part in that. I thought it was a fantastic run from the 2 young Russians. Did exactly what the team asked them to do. Strategy was absolutely perfect. Seemed to squeeze so much fuel mileage out of that car, it was almost ridiculous. A faultless run is a wonderful thing to see in any race, and an endurance race in particular. It's all the more difficult to deliver because of the additional variables, and they achieved just that. Driver coached, by the way, by none other than Warren Hughes, this pair, and Warren is here again this weekend and hoping for an opportunity, I'm sure, to show them what he can do at the wheel of an LMP2 car. Fingers crossed, mine. What we don't know yet is whether or not we'll see them back for next year. On screen now, the only car to have actually won 2 races this year in the European Le Mans Series. It's the 32 Ligier JSP 217 of United Autosports. But this is the championship leading car, the 22 G-Drive Racing by Dragon Speed car. And you can see on the side of the car a vinyl that's been added to wish everybody well in Mexico after the terrible earthquake earlier this week. Memo Rojas of course, part of this effort with young Leo Roussel and returning to the team after 2 races away on Super GT duty, Ryo Hirakawa. It's 47 here. This is the Settler Valoba Corsa car. It is going to be Andrea the Don Pellicchi that goes qualifying here. The ex-Rebellion Racing man, of course, with lots of LMP racing experience in both P2 and P1. Joined by Sergio Sonigiotto and Roberto Lacorte. 21, the Orica Gibson of Dragon Speed. 10-star livery aboard this car. Nico Lapierre with car owner Henrik Edman. They've not had the best of luck and behind on pit lane. And in the points as well, the number 25 Algarve Pro Ligier. Now, couldn't quite see who was at the wheel of that, but my guess would be Andrea Pizzitola.
Yes, he is. Well, actually, they're all silver graded drivers in Algarve Pro Racing. There is a new nose for the high-class racing car. I seem to think that's the Dallara, isn't it? The number 49 car. That
car, I think, had a problem in the last free practice session. We didn't see what happened, but there was a tangle with the YMR Norma of Neil Muston.
Okay.
Which Mr. Muston was required for a meeting without coffee. But it would appear that the front end of that car had suffered some damage. We might have a chat with the team after this session. Tyres going on board the number 47 car.
Clearly they don't have any nose sections that match the high-class racing livery. They could have gone along to Settler Valoba Corsa, so it's not far off, is it?
Pretty close.
Another Dallara. But they do have bits and bobs in the flat black, the matte black livery to attach to the car. So if you see the high-class racing machine going around, probably with Anders Fjordbach at the wheel, that is very easy to spot. There it is again, in fact, on the internal jacks, just having its Dunlop tyres bolted on.
See the number 40 Graf Racing car there ready to go as well, one of the Oricas in the field. So 3 of the 4 available LMP2 choices on this grid with Dallara, Ligier and Orica. There is one of the Oricas, the number 22 car. And it's fabulous Gibson V8.
Yes, indeed. Powering all of the cars. You mentioned the 40 car, James Allen, a little bit too hot in one of the sessions, either today or yesterday in the pit lane, breaking the speed limit of 60 Ks, and was pinged for that. So there's so many different things that the drivers have to keep their eyes on. We may well have a full course yellow through the course of tomorrow's race as well, which is 80 kilometres per hour. 60 down the pit lane, and these cars carry various different speed limiters on board. So 12 LMP2 cars, 10 of which are on Dunlop tyres. There are a couple on Michelins, those being the Panes Barthez Competition Ligier of Fabien Barthez, Tim Bourret and Nathaniel Bertrand. And the other car on Michelin tyres is the Edex Sport Racing entered Ligier of Patrice and Paul Lafargue and Paul-Luc Chatin this weekend, taking charge of the driving duties. He's the gold driver. It has been Olivier Pla in the past. It has been David Zollinger as well for things like Le Mans. Paul-Luc Chatin back in the ELMS, which is good to see.
Yeah, a man that certainly deserves a regular place on any sports car racing grid. Has been the Rookie of the Year in the past, hasn't he, Paul-Luc Chatin, back in the Formula Le Mans days.
That's right, yes. Kind of middle class, the one-make prototype series that used to run as part of the ELMS.
So the full lineup of drivers are going to be taking part in this qualifying session. 10 minutes to go. It's Ben Hanley in the 21 car. We can see that car. So no Nico Lapierre in that car. This one, Ben has been really absolutely on fire, both in this car this year and also in the Mana car in the WEC. Last couple of races. Ryo Hirakawa makes his comeback with the team, and we've had Leo Roussel putting the pole position in, didn't we, for the 22 car at Red Bull Ring, if I remember rightly. But the Japanese Toyota reserve driver is aboard the car. Nat Berton is in the 23 Panis Barthez car. It is Andrea Pizzitola aboard the 25 Algarve Pro. Ruchev is in the 27 SMP Racing car. Paul-Luc Chatin in the 28. Jan Lammers in the Racing Team Netherlands at 29. Dallara, Philippe Albuquerque in the 32 United Autosports Ligier, Enzo Gibert in the 39 Graf car, Richard Bradley in the 40 Graf machine, Andrea Pellicchi we've already seen aboard the Settler Valoba Corsa car, and it is Dennis Anderson in the 49 car for high class racing. 9 minutes to go, and the car's now on the first of their flying laps.
So my apologies to Dennis Anderson. I was expecting Anders Fjordbæk to do the qualifying, but clearly the bronze driver being given a little bit of extra drive time here and the responsibility of getting the car up on the grid.
And that almost certainly is because they lost time in free practice due to that accident. So Dennis will not have had the time that he would have wanted. It is a circuit he knows, although I seem to recall that he was part of what was a massive shunt at the beginning of the Renault Sport Trophy
race, yeah.
And not his fault either, the last time we ran here. So maybe feeling as if he needs a bit more track time here. It could be a smart move.
Huge crash, wasn't there, last year,
yeah.
Coming out of the source with one of the machines having broken steering. Last year's winners, by the way, in the ELMS were Dragon Speed, the number 21 car with its only victory of 2016. Same driver lineup as we have now. Ben Hanley, Henrik Hedman and Nicolas Lapierre. They're in desperate need of a win here this weekend at Spa. I think, unfortunately for them, the one car at Dragon Speed is out of the championship running. That's the 21 machine, but the sister car very much in the title hunt. 12 points its lead over the 32 United Autosports car, and 31 points an advantage on the 39 Graf car.
Indeed, lots of teams showing speed, and a little bit of a stumble maybe coming through the final turn there from Ryo Hirakawa. But he goes through in a 2:02.832. That is the mark to beat. Who's going to be next through? Well, it's Enzo Gibert, 2:03.134. So close there between these two for starters. 0.3 of a second. Just going to look at Enzo Gibert and the line through there. A little bit more porpoising there as well.
Yes, particularly on the run down to Eau Rouge, and it always amazes me how much the tyres, despite the pressures being well and truly up and plenty of heat in the tyre, that it just seems to move around like jelly when the car is really under a lot of downward pressure. Clearly there's compression there, big style, into Eau Rouge, and the car moves around for the driver to deal with as the foot is probably buried to the floor as much as you can in one of these high downforce LMP2 machines, and it's a case of just hanging on and hoping you appear at Raidillon roughly in a straight line.
Philippe Albuquerque has come through in third position for United Autosports. Paul Chatang is fourth. Richard Bradley takes that position. Here comes Ben Hanley. He goes to the top. It's a 2:02.457. It's a 1-2 for Dragon Speed at the moment, with the G-Drive branded car running second. 0.375 of a second between the two.
Huge grooves being left by the cars though as well as they head into Eau Rouge. They call it Redwater because of the brook that runs under a little bridge there, but the track's starting to become red in places. The wooden, the board that runs on the bottom of these cars, the skid plank, getting a real bruising as the cars head through Eau Rouge and then up over the top at Raidillon. Here comes the 27 car, and which of the two young Russians did we put at the wheel of that machine? It's yet to post a time. It's Yegor Rudchev down in 22nd position. That will change at the end of this lap though, because he's very quick through sectors 1 and 2, just waiting for him to come across the line, and we'll have this solid bank of 12 LMP2 cars at the top of timing and scoring. Yegor Rudchev just coming into the bus stop chicane now out of Blanchemont, and the steering wheel really rattling around in his hands as well there. Vibration high up on, a little bit of corrective steering required by Yegor there to get the car levered through the right and the left to end the lap. He'll come across the line now to go 9th fastest, Yegor Rudchev at 2:04.324. 5 minutes to go, and Ben Hanley is in the middle sector in car 21. Just waiting for him to appear at Curve Paul Frere, which he does now. The sister car, number 22, with Ryo Hirakawa back in the championship after 2 rounds out, with him being on Super GT duty. That car just rounding Bruxelles corner now and approaching turn 9.
Yeah, Ben Hanley well off the ultimate pace on this lap, certainly not pushing hard to improve on this one. We'll wait and see what kind of pace we're going to see out of Ryo Hirakawa. I'm looking for where the improvements up the order are going to come from. Rudchev way off the pace on the second lap. The race winners last time out not pushing at the moment to improve up the order. 4.5 minutes left. Hanley pits. And is that going to be it for Ben Hanley? I suspect it might be, you know. Let the rest of them chase.
Yeah. Well, 202.457 gives them a cushion of 0.375 of a second, and the crew are not going to burst into life. They're not going to change tyres or anything like that. I mean, you could effectively change a driver. There's nothing in the rules that says you have to keep with the same driver. The jumbo car, the racing team Nederland De Lara, has been off because that car looking rather slow as it rejoins. It was at the end of the Kemmel Straight. You don't often have small incidents here. The car didn't turn in. Now there is plenty of runoff there, and a couple of rumble strips as well to make sure that that route isn't quicker than staying on the track.
Well, if you do track limits, do it properly. Jan Lammers showing how it should be done.
Exactly
the old master.
right.
Excellent.
And just to the left there is where the old track disappears up the road. Much of that you can still do in a road car. It went left, sharp left there, and away off into the country.
First time later, won't we?
I'm looking forward to that.
We are indeed. It would have been an improvement for the 39 car, but that lap has been deleted. Valberkirk has improved. Gilbert, by the way, has pitted too. I have to say, on arrival here, and doing what we normally do on arrival, just a quick wander down the pit lane, there was an immediate kind of visual confusion because in the pit garages, the two Dragon Speed cars have changed the order. Normally, as you look at it, it's the 21 car on the left, 22 car on the right. It's the opposite way round this time. I gather that's the way the allocation was done.
Okay.
So
they just do these things to fox us, I think.
Just messing with me.
Exactly, yeah. Can't quite work it out in the brain. You just need to stand the other side of the garage and everything will be right.
It would be fine. Maybe I still have my head.
Here's the 39 car, one of two Graf machines, third fastest so far for Enzo Guibert. Again, a driver with good form here at Spa, because if the memory serves, he says, looking the results up from last year, it was Enzo Guibert, Paul Petit, Eric Trouillet in LMP3 that took victory here at Spa Francorchamps, and they've been promoted, or they promoted themselves into LMP2 for this year, and still showing good speed. EDEC Sport rather slow there, coming out of Le Com corner. I think that was more of a case of the 28 machine, driven by Paul-Luc Chatin, just allowing a faster car through, and maybe Paul-Luc Chatin will really give it the beans on the next lap. 1 minute and 50 seconds to go. Jan Lammers hopefully with a much better line through Le Com corner. Again, the car thought about not turning in though for a spell. However, Lammers now out of the third bit of Le Com and down the hill towards Bruxelles corner. This looks a lot more respectable. Jan Lammers doing a 36.5 through the first sector. He's got time to try and find that car, only 11th of the 12-car field. Big lock-up for high-class racing as well, and Dennis Anderson, or a spin, in fact, for Dennis Anderson, coming out of La Source corner, and the car briefly broadside across the track.
It's not been a particularly glittering qualifying so far here for the De Laras. They don't like this one, do they? At the moment, the four De Laras, they prop up the times here, 9th through to 12th, the four cars. Struggling to squeeze the times out here. In comes Ryo Hirakawa. There's only really, I think, Richard Bradley in a position here to challenge this leading order. At the moment, it is 21 top of the shop with Ben Hanley's effort, 2:02.457. Then Ryo Hirakawa almost 4/10ths back. Enzo Gibert a further 6/10ths back. Actually, sorry, 6/10ths back on the lead time. And Philippe Albuquerque also on pit lane. All four of those cars, by the way, the United Autosports cars. We're not going to see pole position from the Ligier either. There's Richard Bradley. Does not appear to be attacking the bus stop here, and I think he's going to bail out too. He has.
Well, this is looking more and more like a pole position for Dragon Speed with their 21 car. It would be a third pole of the year, despite not gathering that many points together from the races, sadly. A second place finish in Monza. Their other finish was at Paul Ricard, where they were outside of the top 5, and they managed to garner 1 point from the Silverstone race, a non-finish at Red Bull Ring. But if it was all based on qualifying, Dragon Speed would be streets ahead of everyone, and it looks like that's where all the congratulations are about to kick off. But Ben Hanley, Nicolas Lapierre obviously handing the responsibility of qualifying the car over to the young Mancunian this weekend, sharing with Henrik Hedman, the team owner, and Ryo Hirakawa, make it a dream grid for Dragon Speed, because the G-Drive racing car in the ELMS is run and prepared by Dragon Speed, and they lock out the front row.
Henrik Hedman there. He's the other driver. We talked about Nicolas Lapierre, we talked about Ben Hanley, but Henrik Hedman the non-pro driver and the owner of actually both those cars for Dragon Speed. So the contribution of some of these gentlemen drivers should not be underestimated, both on track and off.
Enzo Guibert, having set the third fastest time, a 2:03.053. Winner here last year in P3, will start the Graf car alongside Philippe Albuquerque's number 32 car, the car he shares with Hugo de Sadelier and William Owen. And those guys, second in the championship, 12 points off the G-Drive machine. So they're in the mix, starting from the second row tomorrow, and actually starting right behind their championship rivals, the number 22 machine.
So end of the session, effectively just Jan Lammers out there to complete the lap he's on, and that is not going to be a lap that improves. Nick Minassian, the sporting director, and indeed the reserve pro driver for Dragon Speed, smilingly greets Ben Hanley. Of course, we're seeing Nick Minassian for the last two races, whilst Ryo Hirakawa has been on that Super GT duty for Toyota. Star-studded stuff this year at Dragon Speed.
Yeah, and the one thing that this session doesn't change is the championship standings at the point at the top end, because it's still a 12-point margin that G-Drive Racing have over United Autosports and their 32 car. Graf Racing are then 19 points further back, the number 39 car, and High Class Racing, who've had a good season actually, coming up through the ranks from the Renault Sport Trophy, where Dennis Anderson and Anders Fjordbach shared one of the Renault RSO1 cars. They kept that duo together, kept the same paint scheme as well, and High Class Racing fourth in the championship, trailing G-Drive Racing by 44 points. Let's get some reaction though to the Dragon Speed pole position. Here is Ben Hanley with Charlie George.
Well, Ben, you took over the reins of the car this weekend and you've got the job done, another pole position.
Yeah, the team did a fantastic job. Masked a bit our pace in FP1 and 2 with some of the tests that we did and some traffic and things. So, you know, we knew we had the pace in the car. Yeah, it was just about putting the lap in, and the tyre deck's quite high, so lap 1 is the lap, and fortunately we, you know, did a good job, and it was a good lap.
Now, looking to the race, how is this circuit for all of you guys?
Yeah, it's iconic track, isn't it? So it's an amazing track, and in these cars it's even better. You know, the performance is really high. So yeah, it's a great track. It's going to be difficult for the tyres, like I said, but yeah, I love coming to this place.
Thanks, and well done, Ben.
Thank you.
So yeah, the third time that car's been on the front row, on pole position for ELMS, and there is confirmation of it. 0.375 of a second the margin. Dragon Speed's time at 2:02.4. G-Drive, the sister car within the team, starts alongside. And then it's Graf and United Autosports represented on the second row. Graf and Algarve Pro Racing start from the third row. Seventh fastest, Panes Barthez Competition, with their Ligier, the EDEX Sport Ligier, next up. And we have a couple of Dalaras starting 11th and 12th. The Racing Team Nederland car piloted by Jan Lammers and Dennis Anderson in that re-nosed high-class racing Dalara will start from 12th position. A reminder of how the LMP3 and the GTE cars will line up for tomorrow's race. We start at midday Central European time, so slightly earlier than normal. Means a nice early finish for us here at Spa Francorchamps, and we hope the weather is going to stay as it is today, with temperatures decent, 16, 17 degrees Celsius, and no rain predicted. That is a very brave thing to say here at Spa, a place with its own microclimate, but can't see any rain on the radar heading into Sunday. We're really looking forward to this, the fifth race of the year for the 2017 European Le Mans Series. My thanks to Graham Goodwin. And it just remains for me to say that join us for later on in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. We look forward to tomorrow's race at midday. Bye for now.